Thanks for joining us today. We are going to be talking about hiring smarter and how marketing automation can help you attract top talent. So, let me just go through our agenda today really quick. We will be talking about why you should use marketing automation in the hiring process, what those benefits are, and then we're going to go through five key workflows that you should consider incorporating into your hiring process. So, real quick to start off, who are we? My name is Sarah Sheridan. I am the lead client strategist at Smart Girl Digital. I've spent the past 10 plus years working in senior living and spent my entire career in digital marketing. So I really have a passion for both of those industries. And Margaret, I will let you give a quick introduction on yourself as well.
Yeah, thank you. I am Margaret Kollsmith, and I am the client service team lead here at Smart Girl Digital. I have been in the senior living industry for over 8 years. I've worked on both the operator side as well as the recruitment and marketing side of senior living. So I am super excited to be here today talking about all my favorite things.
Awesome. Well, I am excited to dive into this conversation, Margaret. We do a lot of marketing automation for sales teams and marketing teams. And I think it's so important also to consider that prospect and, of course, prospect and families, but also the other prospect of our employees and how we are communicating with them during the hiring process. So let's dig in here. Margaret, talk to us a little bit why automation is important in hiring.
Yeah, absolutely. So, as you said, keeping our candidates engaged is just as important as keeping prospects engaged, like on the sales side. And the way that we can think of it is, why would we use automation in hiring? So, here's some areas of where this helps. So, saving time, so we can free up your HR team, your recruiters by automating some of those repetitive tasks, keeping up with those candidates, those touch points that are so important on the sales side when you're trying to, encourage a family to move a loved one in are just as important on the hiring side. Keeping in touch, keeping that candidate warm, letting them know that you're still interested in them, all of that. Expanding your talent pool. So keeping those passive candidates, maybe they weren't a fit for, a role that you were looking to fill. Maybe they wanted 3 to 11 and all you had was 11 to 7. You keep them warm for when that shift, that they want to come around does come around, and we keep them engaged along the way with that ongoing communication. And then, it's a way to encourage, candidates to learn more about your culture. So we can share our company's values, missions, any sort of DEI initiatives from day one, and really keep them engaged along the way to know why would I want to come work for this community.
Yeah, I think those are all great points, Margaret. And I think about if we are treating our employees like we're treating prospects, we're going to have happier and more engaged employees, which is going to um, showcase through happier and more engaged residents and long-term resident engagement. So definitely think it's important that we are treating our employees and potential employees in the same way that we treat our prospects and family members. So yeah, let's talk about some of the benefits of using automation.
Yeah. So consistency and speed. So if we think of it from, a sales and marketing perspective, we know how important it is to have that speed to lead when it comes to an independent living prospect who wants to come in and schedule a tour or, fills out a web form. Why wouldn't we feel the same way about someone who's interested in working for us? So allowing us to have an automation strategy in place to have that speed to candidate experience will not only take some of the burden off of your recruiters and your HR team, but it'll also give that candidate, oh, they are interested in me, and look how quickly they got back to me about, my application, and I know that it was received. There's sometimes a lot of questions of, well, I applied and I have no idea like if it went off into the abyss or if they actually have it and that I'm being considered. So not only that speed, but also ensuring that every candidate has a consistent experience, no matter how or when they're applying to work for your community. In addition to that, we can use and leverage AI to tailor those emails or text messages that we're sending to candidates. And then to kind of identify those hot leads, we can look at open rates. If there's replies to, the emails or the texts, we can kind of monitor that and using AI to like help us to segment those people for the, talent acquisition and recruiter team to say, okay, these people were highly engaged. Those are the people that we want to follow up with. More swiftly. And then also for scalability. So if you're hiring 2 roles or 20, this automation kind of takes some of the burden off of that team and allows them to really focus on creating relationships with the candidates in order to better, kind of show the company's culture, the organization's mission, all of that, and take some of the like, you know, the legwork and the paperwork out of things so that they can focus on really connecting with the candidates.
Yeah, and I think it's so interesting that today with sites like, Glassdoor and Indeed and employers or potential employers really have the ability to kind of get a peek into the company culture and hiring process. And looking at some of these reviews are so important that you have a good, strong brand and culture reputation because otherwise people aren't going to spend their time filling out your application process. So it's really interesting to see. How automation can help improve communication so that people do feel supported throughout kind of every step of that journey. And, I've heard something that can be an issue is like, oh, well, I was ghosted, like I never heard back. I never heard if I got the job or moved forward. And so automation can certainly help you improve that communication at every stage so that you do have a strong communication process with your candidates and you're not on some of those sites with negative comments about the hiring process. So I think that's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Yeah. And I think it is even more indicative of how important it is to have a reputation management strategy in place. A lot of times as sales and marketers, we're really focused on, oh gosh, what's written about us on Google My Business, what's written about us on, maybe caring.com, those types of places. But we also have to think about what do the Indeed reviews say? What do the Glassdoor reviews say? And how are we being talked about, as an employer? Because it's equally as important. And I don't know about you, but if I was moving a loved one into a community, I would probably also be checking how it is of a place to work in
Yeah.
addition to how is it as a place to live because like you said, happy staff equals happier residents equals, better staff retention. It solves a lot of the workforce development problems that we're seeing today in the industry. So yeah, I think, having that reputation management strategy in place and making sure that we're responding to reviews, even if they're negative, is really, really important to show that, concerns are addressed and taken seriously.
Yeah, such a great point. And I totally agree. I know if I was looking for a loved one, I would also want to do my research on what is the culture like, what is employee turnover, how happy are employees. I want my loved one to be taken care of, or I want to be surrounded by people who are happy in their roles and are there as a career and really because they have the passion and love for senior living. So great points made. So let's dive into like, okay, we know automation is important, and can help, but how? Let's talk about some workflows here that can benefit the employee journey. I think one workflow that is important is the application to hire workflow. So after someone fills out an application, how are you communicating with that candidate throughout each stage from, applying to the first screen to interview to offer or maybe no offer. This is where communication is really important through each step to set expectations with the candidate. And whether they do or don't move ahead or they do or don't get an offer, I think it's important to communicate both ways. And that really can kind of give the candidate insight into where they are and be really clear about whether they're still in the running or whether they're not, and make it a positive hiring process so that again, they are leaving you helpful comments on Glassdoor and overall just coming away from that experience with a positive perception of your community and your brand. Who knows, maybe down the road there's another opportunity for them. So I think that is a really important workflow to have. Another workflow that can be as equally important is to nurture candidates who maybe haven't filled out an application yet or found the right role to apply to. And even applicants who maybe have filled out a role, but it just wasn't the best fit, but maybe in the future there's other opportunities. So building a workflow that can automate some outreach to that audience to talk about employee stories, company benefits, testimonial, and just shine a light on what it's like to work at your community can really help nurture some of those applicants to make sure that you are top of mind when they are considering what roles to apply to in the future. Um, I think a nurture workflow can be really, really helpful. The last one here is just an employee referral workflow. Many communities and operators have some sort of employee referral program in place. It's always great to hire when they know someone who already works at the community or the community or one of your employees can refer someone that's going to be a good culture fit and good fit for the role and team. So we love getting those referrals, but are your employees making the referrals? That's where an employee referral workflow can be really helpful to remind employees at certain milestones, such as, 30, 60, 90 days after start date, or maybe at those 1 year or 2 year employee milestones to just remind them the incentives about the employee referral, also sending out what hot jobs are available, letting them know as those roles become available, um, educating them so that they can share them appropriately to their own kind of network. And so I think that one's another really important role. A hot jobs newsletter can be great if you have specific roles that are hard to fill or need a bit more of a specialized skill set. A hot jobs newsletter can be really helpful to quickly blast out open roles to very specific job pools and job candidates. So an example could be with nursing jobs. That can often be a difficult role to fill. Perhaps you have a hot job newsletter or hot job one-off email that goes out to candidates that you know may have an interest in filling that role, and even to internal employees who are currently in that role and can possibly network and recommend other employees who have the same skill set.
Yeah, I think the hot job newsletter would also be an awesome place to showcase any sort of like sign-on bonuses that you're offering. And I think that's a huge incentive and kind of like a buzzword right now is like, what's the sign-on bonus? Like it's almost like an expectation when it comes to like hiring, direct care staff is, well, what's the sign-on bonus and when do I get it? How long do I have to be an employee there before I get it? So another great place to kind of showcase some of those employee benefits that we talked through in the nurture workflow, but also like that, hot job newsletter. There's also a hot, sign-on bonus that you get after 60 days of employment and, good attendance, that type of thing. So just an idea there.
Yeah, I agree. And it's I feel like as an employee, sometimes, you're busy, you're fulfilling the roles and responsibilities of your job and these details can change and vary by different role and community. So I think it's great when you can communicate that in real time as those jobs are coming available. Um, all those important details like sign-on bonus, which is yes, what we want to know about. So the last one is a little more. obvious, but I don't know that all communities are doing it on an ongoing regular cadence, is an employee monthly newsletter. And I think this can help not only remind employees about some of those great referral bonuses and incentives and um, details, but it also can help maintain culture and build retention and also share growth opportunities internally. I know a lot of clients love to hire internally where appropriate. So I think having a regular cadence of a monthly or quarterly employee newsletter can help support kind of all of these other initiatives that are important in the HR world of building culture, employee referrals, applicants, and so forth. It sounds very, very simple, but the execution of it is not always. I think that's where it's harder, making sure you have the right kind of template. And I know not every operator has a large in-house HR team to execute on some of these items. So that's where partners can help, or just kind of building the right process and template in place to make it easy to execute that employee newsletter each month or quarter, um, can help maintain that culture with your in-house team. So yeah, Margaret, any other stories or ideas here to add to some of these workflow ideas?
Yeah, I think as far as like an employee newsletter goes, one thing that I know when I was working on the operator side, the community I worked for had a really nice um, continuing education or like scholarship application for employees where they could apply for, a basically like a scholarship to continue their education. So if it was, a CNA who wanted to go back to school to get her LPN license, she could apply and that the community themselves would work with the employee to operate, maybe a different schedule so that they could go back to school and those types of things. So I think, an employee monthly newsletter where you're also telling stories of, well, look at this person who started here as, a CNA and is now, an LPN or a floor supervisor or a shift lead. Um, can really encourage those other employees to, oh, this is a place that I can grow, and then can help with that retention process that I know is sometimes a pain point for communities is, yeah, we can hire all these people, but we're having a hard time retaining them. So having benefits such as that, where it's not, health, vision, dental, but it's after you've been here for a year, you can apply to this scholarship program and, will help you go to school or will help you continue that education, I think is a huge, thing to tout as communities and something to be really proud of to to help your employees' growth plan.
Yeah, of course. And I love, it's always great to like read the website and hear about all the benefits on the website, but when you can hear from an actual employee, um, what a role is like, what a day in the life is like in that position, I think that's so powerful. Similar to like how we provide resident testimonials for prospects and families, like having those testimonials can be so impactful for people who are considering a job at the community or looking for those growth opportunities to understand, what is my growth plan? What does day to day look like if I were to move into that role? So, yeah, I love the employee newsletter idea and kind of building those assets around it to deliver that story to your internal
Yeah.
team prospect.
Yeah, and even using, tools such as One Day or Heart Legacy to record videos of staff members when you see them on out on the floor of like, hey, tell me what you love about working here, and just doing a quick on the fly interview testimonial of an employee and then including that in the newsletter or in some of these workflows that we're talking about. I think is a great, everybody loves video. So I think it would be a great way for communities to kind of spread the word about, their culture.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And what I love about technology today and kind of the way social media is evolving is like not everyone is expecting a super edited high-end video. It's okay. And I think people almost appreciate that authenticity of like grabbing your phone and doing a sales mail or one day video to talk to an employee about, what they love and hear from them about their day at the community. And so I think that's another great idea, Margaret. Um, well, thank you for chatting with me today about automation and careers in HR. If you guys have any questions on any of the workflows that we provided here or ideas, feel free to reach out. We're always happy to chat and brainstorm together on ways to leverage automation in your prospect and candidate journey. So thanks for joining and hope to talk to you all soon.
Thank you.